Hi, I'm Mike Mosteller, shooting a video, again another series in paradiddle power and some of the amazing things that you can do with the paradiddle to explore the drum set and specifically play what are commonly referred to as Groove-A-Diddles. And that's where you're taking a paradiddle concept and you're generally applying it between either your hi-hat or your ride or sometimes a floor tom with your lead hand, whether that's your right or your left, depending on whether you're right or left-handed, and then playing ghost notes or unaccented notes with your left hand, opposite those, and then trying to bring out certain accent points with your left hand, generally on the backbeat to complete the Groove-A-Diddle. That's really what completes it, makes it have like a center that the band can sit the rest of their parts on top of. You can also then take the right hand and move it around the kit and make your way back inside the groove. So you're still kind of grooving at that point, but you're also soloing and filling and bringing that into your playing, which is a really fun and creative thing to be able to do. And then obviously paradiddles sound amazing across the drums themselves. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to approach that type of playing. First off, and I'm going to move to this camera just so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to talk about in the last series we talked about the single paradiddle and the different ways that you can invert it. I'm not going to get into inversions or different accent patterns today necessarily. I'm just going to talk about a basic double paradiddle, which is a 6-note pattern. And the reason that this is such a powerful thing to be able to employ is because it naturally occurs in 6/8 timing, and you can also play two voicings or two phrases rather to play in what people refer to as 12/8. And if you play in like a 6/8 halftime and you double it, you can put a backbeat into this with pretty amazing results. So I'll just give a quick demonstration. We're going to go right, left, right, left, right, right, and then we're going to switch it up and go left, right, left, right, left, left, as such. Notice that there's two alternating strokes on the lead hand, which is my right, followed by a double, and it switches hands, yeah? So then it repeats on the subdominant hand, as I like to refer to it, or the left hand. Yeah, a little bit faster. Faster still. Obviously there's a Moeller technique in there involved to get the double really smooth, and I'll break that down in another video. But more or less, at a slower speed you can do wrist strokes to do the double, right? Most of the energy is coming from individual wrist strokes, but at faster speeds you're not going to be able to maintain that, and it's not going to be smooth around the kit for sure. So you want to work on more of a Moeller stroke, which is a whip-like stroke, where you're letting the first hit bounce up and hinge, and you want to open up your back fingers to allow what's essentially the counterweight of the stick, the butt end of the stick, to open up and let the top end of the stick rotate up, and then you want to close your fingers to bring it back down, as such. Some people will call that a throw catch technique. There's a lot of different terms for it, but it's essentially the same move. And you want to work on that with doubles first. Try to incorporate into various paradiddles, so like a regular paradiddle, right, 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 now with the double paradiddle, which again, the reason it's called the double paradiddle is because you're doing 2 sets of alternating and then a double, and keep in mind it's a 6-stroke rudiment. So here's that at as a demonstration. Is how do we make this into a Groove-A-Diddle? And it's pretty simple. I'm going to walk you guys through the same steps in the last video, where you essentially just take the rudiment itself, and I tend to play crossed over the hi-hat. Of course, there's some people that will play, even if they're right-handed, will play what's called open-handed, and they'll do left-hand lead on the hi-hat, which is actually pretty difficult. I played this way for a long time, so I'm going to demonstrate it like this. If you're on the ride, obviously it kind of has to be in the right, because you know this is just kind of bad form playing this way. But the bigger your kit, the more items you have. You know, you might have like extra like fixed hi-hats or remote hi-hats. You might have like some China cymbals that this works really well on. You might have some blocks, some bells. So it's really good to be able to do it on both the right and the lead hand. Just something to keep in mind as you're working this up. So I'm going to cross over. I'm going to take my lead hand, put it on the hi-hat, and I'm going to just play this flat for now, meaning that for the most part, the snare will be uniform volume, or pretty close, yeah? So for example, right, yeah? Now the next step, and of course you can pepper the kick in as much or as little as you choose, but to start with, I recommend just doubling everything that the right hand is playing, or your lead hand. So if you're doing open-handed, then that would be your kick with your left hand, which again is more difficult because it crosses your body. So I'm going to demonstrate it this way. It'll be like this. Again, I'm just going to play this as flat as possible. So the next step, of course you can work on speed at this point and try to get it more fluid, but one of the things that's really going to make this groove pop, you know, and have some flavor to it, and also build some dynamics in, is to either ghost or unaccent everything that's happening on the left hand, with the exception of the backbeat. Now, how this works is that you have 2 6s, and if you accent the 1 of the second grouping of 6, then that creates a backbeat in halftime. Okay, and I'll explain more on that in just a minute here. But just a quick demonstration to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a little bit faster. Now there's definitely some other areas that you can explore, but that would be the first thing to get to really work on is getting the kick to double all the hi-hats, and then working on trying to ghost or unaccent the left hand. Now from here, one of the things that I really like to do is play less bass drums, but then in some moments drop in the bass drums, put them back in, the ones that I've removed. So an example of that would be, you could do like a 2-part phrase where the first 6 could be literally just 1 kick. And you can always work at this. In fact, let me just give a demonstration of 1 kick for this entire pattern, which would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. groovy pattern, if I do say so. Here it is off the bell. Another good one would be to just play the first two kicks. It kind of gives it a little bit of an African feel. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. If you did a two-part phrase, that would just mean that you choose to do X amount of kicks in the first grouping of 6 and Y amount of kicks, if you will, in the second grouping of 6. And you can also be improvisatory with this, meaning that it doesn't have to be the same A-B pattern all the way through. It's good to work on precision because it's very difficult to do that. But a lot of the situations where you're going to be using this type of a beat are like world music, or like maybe like a tribal tom pattern in a metal song, for example. Various like, you know, fusion applications where you're dipping into kind of like an African feel. And it's important to understand that the double paradiddle is very old, and embedded inside the double paradiddle is the African clave, which if I break that down really quick, I'll do it in a couple different places so you can hear what's happening. But you would have the standard clave would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. One I really like to explore is throwing what would be the 5 of the first 6 on the 6 of the first 6. So we're just moving it 1/8 note, if you will, of the 6 later in time, and you get a little bit more of like a, dare I say, like a swing feel. Not swing as in like big band, but it just it has a nice, it swings into it. To me, it feels like it connects the last hit of the 3 side, right, which would be your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, right? Notice there's 3 hits in the first 6 and 2 in the second. If you move the note that would be on beat 5 to beat 6, then it feels like it swings or connects into the 2 side. So it's still considered a 3/2 African clave, but it has a little bit of a different feel to it. Example: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice if I put the double paradiddle into there, that the majority of the hits on the lead hand are actually on top of either one of those claves. There's some doubles, obviously, when you're playing the double paradiddle, right? You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? If I isolate it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what you notice is that the first note of the double, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 5, 6 would be the initial African clave that I demonstrated. The second note of the double would be the other version, you know, where the 6 is being accented. And so it's kind of cool because you can experiment with different variations on these. You can bring this out in the kick. So an example of that would be, I'm gonna demonstrate the second one because that's the one that I tend to favor. It would be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna bring the back beat out to complete it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, faster. And you can notice that Sometimes I was playing the whole clave, sometimes I was just playing the 3 side. So you can really kind of, you know, to a certain degree, make it up as you go. Play around with this idea, figure out what grooves for you, and you know what you're digging on, and then try to work that up to speed. And then you can always try, you know, the most obvious place to take this, besides like a cowbell, would be the bell of the ride, because then it really brings out the African or like the fusion aspect of it. So a quick example of that would be faster. Now this is a more difficult thing to do, but you can always add in some hi-hat. This makes it not only a 4-limb exercise or a 4-limb groove, but you can play polyrhythmically this way. And so more or less what's happening is you're playing, you can keep a quarter note, which creates an implied 6 and 4 polyrhythm, where you're basically going 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. Notice that in each 6, I'm going 1, 2, and 3, right? And then 4, 5, and 6. Now, what's kind of crazy about that is you're probably thinking, okay, well, that's only 1/6, but this is in basically a halftime to what your hands are playing. So a couple different ways of thinking about that. If you have 2 6s, you can count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To get into this style of playing, I recommend that method. However, when you're trying to do more complicated and or polyrhythmic ideas, sometimes it's better to count it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and, yeah? So your hands are essentially double timing what you're kind of counting in your head or feeling in your gut, and then you can put this polyrhythmic pattern against it, so that if you're counting, you know, for example, if I count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 and 6, and notice it's on a downbeat, 1 and 2, and then it's on the upbeat, and 3 and then back on the downbeat, 4 and 5 and 6 and, yeah. Now this is definitely advanced, but it's something to work towards being able to do. So for example, if I demonstrate it, I'm just going to do a single kick, be 1. I still have my double paradiddle here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And one of the cool things about this, other than it being polyrhythmic, is when you're counting it this way, you notice that the snare, which is the backbeat, is on count 4 of the 6, yeah? So if you're doing like your classic, like, you know, Led Zeppelin kind of blues jam, or anything that's in like, you know, a standard 6/8 count, where's the halftime? I mean, to see where's the backbeat in that halftime feel, it's on 4. And it's referred to as, maybe not commonly, but at least for me, it's referred to as a halftime groove, because you only have 1 snare, right? So in a regular backbeat, you have count 2 and count 4 inside one measure, and at least if you're counting it this way, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and then you would just have the 1 backbeat on count 4, yeah? So if I play like a blues, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? and sometimes you'll hear it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? That's less common, but I demonstrated that so you could see that when you're doing the a polyrhythmic African version with the double paradiddle, that's the timing that you're playing in. Yeah, so it's almost like you're playing 16ths in 6/8. Yeah, 16th notes in 6/8. Why am I not counting it 1E and A? Because the way that it fits into time, at least for the purposes of this pattern, you're just doubling each hit, right? So each pulse note would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm doubling it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same pattern and I'm just going to throw it on the toms, and it's amazing how big of a sound you can generate, and how complete and fairly effortless this beat can be, and just the amount of sound that you can generate just by taking it to the toms. Some people think that you have to, reinvent the wheel to create a cool tom pattern, and while it's good to be original, a lot of these classic patterns you can just take directly to the tom. So you just take anything that you were doing here and you just go here with it, yeah? Okay. Next step would be to just take the one hit that creates the halftime backbeat and throw it on the snare. Right, pepper in the kick as you see fit. Obviously would be to take the left hand and explore different parts of the kit. Yeah, throw it up on a rack tom. So you'd be like, obviously you threw a few little fills in there. Recommend once you get comfortable with this, the next step would be to just, like in eighth notes, just play some runs across the toms and snare and see if you can go right back into the beat. You'll find it's very difficult the first few times you do it. You may not even be able to do it at all, but definitely try, because the more you fail at this, the more your mind and your ears and your body will start to understand how to hook back into that. And of course, just running the pattern over and over and over again without any fills is the secret to building up the muscle memory to be able to not only lock into the pattern when you are playing it, but to exit the pattern, right? Play something across the drums and then get back into the pattern as smoothly as possible. And also be able to take the pattern to different parts of the kit, because it really is the same. It will feel different because obviously this is metal, this is a plastic head on a big floor tom, right? So you have to get used to what it feels like and sounds like on different parts of the kit and be able to move the various limbs around and stay inside the pattern. But it's a very powerful thing to be able to do. Some other things you can try would be to move the right hand around. So for example, if I'm on the hi-hat, I could throw some toms in, yeah, and that's kind of like more like a fusion kind of sound. So you could be like, Okay, so now I'm going to give a quick demonstration of some of the concepts and methods that we went over today. We're currently accepting students at Modern Music Studio in Centennial, Colorado. We're also available online, so definitely check us out at modernmusicstudio.com. Thank you.